You know, it never occurred to me until just recently that a lot of web novel readers don't even know this chapter exists. That's right, for a lot of you watching right now, this will be an entirely new chapter. Now, I call it a chapter because it's about the length of one, but in reality, it was never actually added to the web novel. Instead, it's one of many limited edition shop-exclusive short stories. I believe it was included in some sort of bundle or something, but anyway, it's 100% canon, and I think it's way too important to not be talking about. I was really excited when I discovered this new hidden chapter about my favorite character, so I'm making this video to hopefully share that feeling with someone else. That being said, stay tuned, crack open a beer, enjoy the video, and make sure you give it a like if you want to see more shit like this. So chronologically, if you were to put this chapter in the web novel, it would probably be the very first interlude of Arc 5, meaning it takes place right after the Arc 4 appendix, which hopefully all of you have read. You know, if you haven't, I'll give a brief recap right now. The Arc 4 appendix is the very last chapter of Arc 4, where it's revealed that Donna transferred her soul into Omega, who then says the famous quote, "Why must love fade?" And then the chapter abruptly ends with the chilling final sentence of Arc 4. "Once again, the witch is unleashed upon the world." And that's it. 2 arcs later, we still haven't heard from Donna, right? Wrong. The story continues in this hidden chapter, and it picks up right where the appendix left off. The chapter begins with Omega, back in the physical world, walking around the forest outside the sanctuary. She fills her lungs with air, feels the rough bark of a nearby tree, and closes her eyes towards the light of the sun, soaking in through her senses all the experiences the world has to offer her. Omega mumbles to herself, overjoyed that her plan turned out to be successful. She's so happy she could scream, and she would too if her body wasn't losing temperature rapidly. Remember that Roswell made it snow at the sanctuary in Arc 4, and Omega's walking around barefoot through a snow-covered forest wearing minimal clothing. She hears a voice in her head that mocks her. After all that hard work, you're just gonna freeze to death? That's hilarious." The voice is Sekhmet, the Witch of Sloth. Omega reminds Sekhmet that she has enough magical power to burn off an entire generation and tells her to shut up. Daphne chimes in too, but Omega dismisses her as well. In order to survive the environment, Omega shoots a small fireball which successfully melts all the snow away from her and warms her frozen body. Relieved that she's no longer freezing and has a working gait, Omega drifts off into her own thoughts, tuning out the voice of Minerva, who's nagging her about something. Suddenly, the forest around Omega is engulfed in flame. The other witches laugh at her for accidentally starting a forest fire, but after teasing her for a bit, they urge her to hurry up and extinguish it. All the witches' souls are inside the pyroxene crystal necklace around Omega's neck, so if Omega burns to death, so will the crystal that holds all of the witches' souls. Omega tries to cast a water spell to put the fire out, but isn't able to. Apparently, the body she's using isn't very accustomed to water magic, so the fire spreads rapidly, threatening the lives of Omega and all the other witches whose souls are contained inside the necklace. The 5 witches inside the crystal panic while Omega desperately uses wind magic to manipulate the direction of the spreading fire. After much effort, she manages to direct the fire elsewhere. After just barely escaping death, Omega feels exhaustion, another feeling she hasn't had in over 400 years. As Omega catches her breath, she realizes she's surrounded by a group of bandits. There's 18 of them in total, and they're all men. Omega asks them if they're a group of dead meat fishers, which is what bandits were called 400 years ago. The men have no idea what she's talking about, and the bandit leader walks towards her with a hatchet, ready to kill. But before he can attack her, Omega touches her pyroxene necklace and uses the power of the Witch of Wrath. The men are hit with a sudden chilling feeling that calms them down. They all seem confused as to what just happened, and the bandit leader accuses Omega of using some sort of trick on him. Omega responds by proposing a mutual solution. If the group of men are able to stand in front of her for 30 seconds, she will agree to do whatever they want. After hearing that, the men are even more confused, but being faced with such a simple proposal, how could they refuse? The men agree, and in the next instant, Omega reveals her true form, allowing her soul to visualize behind her. At first, the men are frozen in place, staring at the Witch of Greed. Then, one by one, they fall over. Some begin foaming at the mouth with their eyes rolled back, others swallow their tongues and slit their own throats. But after the 30 seconds is up, Omega finds herself surrounded by blood, vomit, and 18 corpses. Omega strips away the men and finds some well-fitting clothes and shoes to wear. As she walks away, she thinks about how strange it was for Subaru to remain calm while he was surrounded by all the witches. Even she isn't sure how he managed to do that. Omega looks back at the dead bandits and feels a sudden gratitude for the men whose clothes she stole. With no hint of bullying or teasing, she vows to never forget their kindness. Continuing through the forest, Omega decides to head to the nearest city to drink her first cup of tea in 400 years. Together, Omega and her 5 friends make a leisurely journey towards their own goal. The end. So, what did we gain from this chapter? I know we gained a lot, but first of all, Donna's been alive for what, like half an hour? And she's already burnt down a forest and killed 18 people. Yeah, they're bandits, but still, that's not exactly a good look, alright? We also know that she's trying to find a city to drink some tea, and judging by how much time has passed since these events, it's safe to say that she's probably already gotten that tea. But most importantly, we learned that Donna can still communicate with the other witches while she's alive in the physical world. And even more important than that, she can use their fucking authorities. Yes, by touching her Pyroxene crystal necklace, Omega can use the authorities of the other witches. This is fucking crazy. And nobody seems to know about this. I mean, guys, this shit's not even in the wiki yet. Another thing that isn't in the wiki yet, Minerva the Witch of Wrath is able to manipulate people's emotions. Remember, we all thought she was just a healer who punched people, but no. She's got some other hidden shit that we don't know about, and I bet you the other witches have a bunch of hidden shit as well, and on top of that, Omega is able to use all of it. Considering this fact alone, I think Omega is actually one of the most powerful beings in ReZero. I mean, in total, she's got the power of 6 fucking witches. Not to mention, she's also able to reveal her soul and force everyone around her to kill themselves. This is all just mind-blowing stuff that for some reason a lot of people are not aware of. Anyway, that's the chapter, guys. Honestly, really awesome chapter in my opinion, and I can't wait to see more of Omega. We got some really badass moments with Best Girl, and more importantly, a bunch of crazy info that we weren't given in the web novel. Let me know what you guys think about this chapter, and let me know where you think Omega's going next. Keep in mind that this stuff happened right after Arc 4, so she's probably traveled a lot at this point. What do y'all think she's doing right now? Let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching, take care everyone, and keep talking about ReZero. Peace.